This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Wednesday, November the 2nd, 2022. So glad you could come along with us today. Coming up a little later in the program, I talk with Mike Newland of the Propane Education and Research Council. We also have a check of your ag weather outlook. But first, let's run down those markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and we're going to turn to Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Jacob, what did we see in those grain markets today?
Well, pretty much the opposite of yesterday. Late last night, we did see news that Russia had made a change of heart, deciding to rejoin the grain agreement that had been set forth through the last 2-3 months. Anyway, really struck the wheat market in a negative way. The premium they built in there, thinking the exports would come to us, taking 50 to 60 cents out here at the end of the day in the wheat market. Chicago wheat down 57 cents at the end, Kansas City down 40, Minneapolis spring wheat down 30. So really hit the wheat market pretty heavy. Corn market went down to 680 in the December contract. That was down about 20 cents on the day. Bounced up there most of the afternoon and ended up closing the December corn 11 and a quarter cents, and that'd be about 6 cents off their lows. So in the soybean market, different things are affecting the soybean market. When you look at the China COVID policies. If they're lifting the COVID policies, no real confirmation of that. Also, you're seeing some heavily protested ports in South America. That's making it a little bit difficult for them to get their product to the ports to get that exported.
And, obviously we know the Black Sea is always a wild card. It seems every time Putin gets embarrassed in the battlefield, he's got to throw a temper tantrum about the grain corridors. But closer to home, we're having trouble with our own grain corridors and some concerns that might be coming down the road with railroads yet. What kind of things are we looking at here? All the kinds of things, kind of a macro evaluation there.
Actually locally here in the northern or central Wisconsin, we're seeing basis really fall apart in beans. So our pipeline's getting pretty full right now if we're not actively pushing soybean exports out the door. And that's the basis of our whole problem domestically. A couple of things is we don't have a large demand for our soybeans to go out the river. That river is also taking at a slower pace. So now you're starting to see as harvest prolongs here and starts to wrap up in some areas. There's just nowhere to go with with the product. If the problems in the railroad can do surface to where they're not shipping and not going across the river, that could really spell for a major problem domestically here for the United States. But already our need for product to the west has really saved a little bit, has really padded up some of those basis levels in that Iowa down through the northern Missouri and stuff that usually goes to the river that can go west to satisfy that. So that's been one positive thing about it. But as this river problem continues and our exports are not going, we're going to just get caught with the plethora of grain along that river corridor, and you're going to start seeing basis probably weaken like we did today.
Are we hearing about any storage concerns or capability for farms? If you're looking at elevators that aren't moving grain, it's not going to be easy. It's just as easy as hauling it to town and paying for storage. But, are you running into anything where people are concerned they may not have enough storage on the farm if their elevators can't take anymore?
Actually, with some of the guys that I talked to today, have invested in a bagger, and we've seen some go into the bags, and that's kind of been something that we've heard about a lot about the last couple of years is ground storage and how that's working out. Realistically, we've done a pretty good job of developing an avenue for corn to get away. But when you see the dynamics change, where it's traditionally corn goes down or the beans go down the river, locally here we don't have any type of processing as much as because it's all right here going down the river. You start to see the different problems. You start to see on-farm storage problems. On-farm storage not being available to some guys is simply because we've had better than expected yields this year too. In certain areas, we know as you go west, that's not the case. But sometimes these guys over here are having those logistic problems that are kind of a good problem, that we have too much grain coming off the farm.
And you kind of mentioned processors, whether they're ethanol plants or soybean processors. I mean, how are we hearing on there? I'm sure with elevators having some issues, I'm sure they're getting full up with people trying to sell to them as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's certain limitations of what they can do, and that's what we're seeing some extreme basis moves here during harvest that you're not used to. We talked about basis falling off because they're just full, but you're also looking at these guys. They remembered what it was like this last summer whenever they were trying to go out there and bid up for product, and then they were holding off, waiting for early harvest, and then all of a sudden we planted later, and now the harvest is pushed back even further. And so you're seeing these last year you saw upwards of $2 over the September corn. We've heard of some guys already out there trying to price in some of this deferred contract stuff, just because they don't want to get in that situation where they were last year and then couldn't get their hands on the grain. This movement, this extreme basis, I don't know if we have that this year, just because these guys are going to be a lot more aggressive early, getting their hands on it. But yeah, there is, as you start flowing into looking at these elevator lines and seeing elevators just shut down because they don't have any more capacity, it's because they were able to get some of that grain from other sources.
So what kind of things are you all recommending to producers that are maybe looking? I mean, obviously prices are good, but with bases being weak and a possibility of elevators not having a place for them and storage issues. I mean, what kind of things do these farmers need to be thinking about?
Realistically, it's that grain that had to go to town. That should have been something that and you work towards all year. Okay, you're always going to have, hopefully, always going to have some of those extra bushels that go to town, because you didn't think you were going to have them. But managing that stuff that's not going to go in storage, it's really hard to manage it once we get here. And now here we are. So what I'm encouraging guys to do is, hopefully you can find a spot that has a good basis. Hopefully you have some storage. If you can get that basis locked in, then you can manage the upside later if you have to sell more than you thought. What we've encouraged guys to do is look at the wheat market days like today, even the corn market being up here, pushing around that $7 level. We haven't done it. If these type of markets that can just fall out of bed overnight don't encourage you to protect yourself, then I don't know what to tell you. But the bottom can fall out of the market, and so you're carrying a ton of risk right now, whether it's geopolitical, whether it's economic, macroeconomic stuff. But there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of positive profitability at this point right now, and the way these markets can move, I think, is extremely important for you to understand and comprehend some of these put strategies and some of these different tools and different even tools at the elevator. I mean, there's ways to get some protection in this market. And it's very important to get that done.
All right, switching gears, going over to the livestock side of things, with grains usually being down, usually livestock takes advantages. Was that the case again today?
Yeah, I mean, every now and then you see the opposite of that, and you don't see the feeder cattle follow with what the corn's doing. But today was a typical day. You see a dime break in the 20-cent break in the corn market, and the feeder cattle really bounced back here today. If you look at just your front months of the feeder cattle, had probably a $2 higher is where we ended up settling that. The trade today was extremely spread oriented. If you look at the live cattle, we sold off in the front months and we bought it in the back, and that's kind of what the story's been telling us with the amount of cattle coming to town. We know we're going to be short, the placements. We pushed cattle forward early, and now we're seeing the evidence of what the show lists are looking like and what we're going to be seeing in the future. Hog market took it, the brunt of it too. Spread trade in the front. We're selling the front and buying the back. We were negative across all of the board, but heavily lower in the December contract, down to $1.90. That contract, you're going to see a lot of these algos spread this until we get into that delivery. Delivery is a long ways away now for cattle and hogs, and so there's going to be a lot of movement based off of just funds and what their activities are doing.
All right. Well, Jacob, if people want to get in touch with agmarket.net, talk some strategies, what's the best way for them to do that?
Just take a look at our first of all, our agmarket.net intel. That's our newsletter. That's all of our information that goes out. We'll put you on a 30-day free trial. If you want to look at one of us specifically, just go to the website, check out the our team, the About Us. You can find each one of us brokers there. And man, we would love to chat with you. This is kind of what we do throughout a day and talk strategy and talk grain marketing.
All right. Well, Jacob, thanks so much for the insight, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, Dustin, thanks for having me. You have a good day.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and look at those closing numbers, courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. December corn was down 10 1/4 at 687.5. March corn down 9 3/4 at 692 3/4. November beans up 4 1/4 at 14.40 even. January beans up 6 1/4 at 14.54 even. Soy meal down 80 cents at 4.17 even per ton. Soy oil up $2.22 at 73.28. December Chicago wheat down 56.5 at 8.46. Minneapolis wheat down 40.5 at 9.49 1/4. Kansas wheat down 49 3/4 at 9.40 1/4. Oats down 9 cents at 3.97 3/4. December live cattle down 55 cents at 151.40. November feeders $2 higher at 178.92. December lean hogs down $1.90 at 83.30. Pork cutouts down $1.52 at 93.85. Class 3 milk up a dime at 20.69. And that's been our ag market recap. When we come back after this short break from the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff, I'll talk with Mike Newland of the Propane Education and Research Council. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. I had the opportunity earlier this year to talk with Mike Newland of the Propane Education and Research Council as we approach this time of the year when corn drying is going on. Also, the fact that heating is going to be happening as the temperature eventually gets colder again. We look at how much propane is going to be available for our supplies. Here's what he had to say. On the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and with Mike Newland of the Propane Education and Research Council. A beautiful day. Couldn't ask for a better day here in Iowa.
Absolutely. Corn loves this kind of weather, so it's good for us, good for everybody that's watching.
Now, of course, when we're getting close to this harvest season, we're going to be talking about drying, and obviously propane, a big fuel source for that. Of course, everything else is going into some supply crunches. How are we sitting for propane here going into this harvest?
Outstanding question. That's the first one everybody brings up with me. So supply's very good. We track it every single year, every month. And we're in a very easy 5-year average window here. So what that means for us is, as we're going into grain drying season, we don't expect anything out of the ordinary, if you will. The one caveat is every gallon that comes to a farm has to be delivered by truck. So as an industry, we're always looking for those areas that could cause us an issue from a logistics standpoint. Today, I don't see anything like that is going to be an issue for us.
Now, there were some concerns earlier this year that there may not be enough. How were we able to make sure we had enough on hand?
Absolutely. As the crop got delayed, planting every week, I get a little more nervous in the role that I'm in. The one tool that we did develop back in 2019 when we had such a big problem logistically was we developed a grain drying demand model. It's an internal tool for our propane industry, so nobody can get at that model except the propane industry. It tracks the crop that's developing, the corn crop, every single week, and we can see what the moisture is currently, how it compares to a 22-year data set now, and it will predict what that crop's going to finish up at the end of the year. So we look at it weekly by crop district. A few that we're looking at today, they're kind of keeping an eye on, are in the upper plains areas. The Dakotas got planted very late. They're a little shorter on heat than most of the country in general. And then there's a couple crop districts in Minnesota we're keeping an eye on as well. But everything else not keeping me up all night, and we're feeling pretty good about where we're sitting.
Now, of course, not only do farms use it for drying corn, they also use it for heating homes, heating shops, barns. depending on which almanac you want to believe, is going to tell you how bad the winter is going to be. But one thing they do agree on, it's going to be colder than summer. So what are the other uses going to be good for that on top of the drying?
Yeah, you mentioned the ones that are common and everybody thinks about. Some other ones that we also do. We do irrigate a lot of the crops around the country. We're gaining market share every single year. And I think it's just an availability thing. It's it's much easier to set a tank in the middle of a section than it is to run an electrical line there. So we get a lot of those remote applications as far as irrigation goes. Super easy. Another unique things that folks may want to take a look at online is weed flaming. We have toolbars essentially set up with torches to burn the weeds and kill the weeds. We can run 16-row toolbars now, and a number of companies that are making that type of product. It's great for the organic space. It's certified organic, but also the guys that are really struggling maybe in a conventional rotation with herbicide-resistant weeds might want to take a look at that technology. It's a great way of cleaning up fields that have weed resistance.
Haven't found a weed that's resistant to fire yet.
We don't have to test that. Fire does kill weeds.
So how does the boom, I mean, we're used to seeing the boom sprayers, obviously, so tell us a little bit about how that works with the flaming.
Yeah, so it's a toolbar, as I mentioned before. The tank is mounted on the toolbar. It's a little bit of a slower process than what folks would normally think on a self-propelled unit, but it's incredibly effective. Like I said, where it really fits, the organic guys love it. And if you've got resistant weeds, I think it's a technology you maybe ought to investigate a little bit. You can actually do some investigation at our website, propane.com/agriculture is a great place to start, and we've got some links to some of those manufacturers there.
What other information do the producers here in the Midwest need to know going into this harvesting and going into the next year?
You haven't asked me about price.
Well, price, that would be the big one, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody wants to know how propane price is this year. I never talk specifically, but what I can tell you is talk to your marketer, your local supplier, and but what we do is track, obviously, propane versus crude versus gasoline, diesel, and we're seeing an unusually wide spread in our favor right now. So that has eased a bit over the last couple weeks, but depending on the analysts that you listen to, I think that's going to continue to widen as the fall and winter goes. But talk to your local supplier and make sure that you're incorporating all the tools that you can to lock in those savings now.
All right, and if people want more information about from the PERC, how do they find that?
Go to propane.com. That's the website. All markets are on the website. And if you're just interested in agriculture, propane.com/agriculture.
That again was Mike Newland of the Propane Education and Research Council. Let's go ahead and run down that ag weather outlook. Well, we had nice clear skies to start the day and the sunshine throughout much of the day here in Iowa. Winds started to pick up just a little bit, and they're going to be around for at least another day. Let's see what the next 24 hours are going to look like from the National Weather Service. Well, as we said, it's going to be breezy here the next day or two. I was looking at sunny skies here throughout the day, and we saw highs in the mid-70s. Now, tonight will be clear skies to start the evening, and then we'll start to see some clouds building in from the west, and we'll see temperatures in the 50s. And tomorrow, variably cloudy skies. There'll be a chance of rain in the northwest. That chance of rain will move across the state as the day gets later, and we'll see highs in the low to mid-70s. Looking at the affiliate weather map, we see tomorrow Cherokee will be partly sunny with a chance of rain and 70. Shenandoah will be partly sunny and 75. Des Moines partly sunny, 74. Waterloo will see increasing clouds throughout the day and a high of 72. Albion will be mostly sunny and 74. Clinton will be sunny and 73. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's our Ag Weather Outlook. And with that, we're at the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified every time we put out a new video product. You can also check out our free Twice Daily Market podcasts on Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.